For the fourth consecutive week, MicroStrategy has bought billions of dollars worth of Bitcoin. And if it's not obvious that Saylor is getting much more aggressive, you better be paying attention. He is front-running the biggest global financial move in history. Is America on the verge of completely upending the global financial power structure? Well, they better move quick because there is massive news coming out of the Middle East. They may just be minutes away from front-running the U.S. strategic Bitcoin reserve. That's right, corporate and nation-state FOMO, they're here. And the suddenly part of gradually then suddenly may have come a whole hell of a lot faster than we ever imagined. I'm Rustin, head of news at Simply Bitcoin, and today you're going to see why Max Keiser has thrown his 220K Bitcoin prediction in the trash.
I gotta pump those numbers up. Those are rookie numbers in this racket.
And now sees $2 million Bitcoin on the horizon. Buckle up, my friends. It's time to send it.
Bitcoin is the only commodity in history, the only asset in history that no matter how high the demand is, the supply never increases, no matter what the demand is. Even if all $400 trillion worth of monetizable assets on planet Earth go into Bitcoin, you cannot create more supply of Bitcoin. It's an absolutely scarce commodity. That means that the price can only go up. Then you have Michael Saylor at MicroStrategy just announced another $42 billion buy program of Bitcoin. You've got Qatar, you've got UAE, both rumored to shortly announce that they're going to put state reserves into Bitcoin. That would be another $500 billion worth of buy into Bitcoin. Trump, will he be successful in buying 1 million Bitcoin? He'll be buying Bitcoin at $100, $200, $500, $600,000 of Bitcoin. Alex, Bitcoin just took out silver in terms of its market capitalization. And I will tell you on this show that as 2 + 2 = 4, and as the sun rises in the east, that Bitcoin's market capitalization will be greater than gold.
Let's go ahead and get started with the Middle East because the Bitcoin conference is taking place in Abu Dhabi as we speak. And would you just look at this? That's right, we are not bullish enough. David Bailey is at it again in Bitcoin Meta. Like we said, it's happening now. And a major reason why Max Keiser has raised his target to $2.2 million Bitcoin. He's been calling this and been laying the foundations for this for quite some time. Remember when Qatar visited El Salvador? My friends, when something massive is coming, there are usually signals. And right now we're getting flashing red lights and wacky wavy inflatable arm guy vibes. Check this out. Just in, President Trump's Middle East envoy Steve Witkoff says the whole world is under-allocated to Bitcoin. There is a lot going on right now, but one of the biggest things is the fact that it's becoming pretty obvious that everyone is waking up to the greatest scam in human history. Check out this clip from the best-selling author of the Bitcoin Standard, Saifedean Ammous from Bitcoin Meta. Roll it!
More and more people are waking up to this, that it's not your money if it's fiat, because first of all, you have to offer an explanation every time you want to use it, but even beyond that, they also care about your general behavior. You can get debanked and you can have your money confiscated for all kinds of things. And it can happen at any point to any country. You think that you're rich, but if all of your assets are in fiat, or fiat-based assets, you get your stocks, your companies, your bank accounts can be taken away from you. All of that stuff can be confiscated, which essentially means it's not really your money. It's money that you have conditional on good behavior. So if you don't have Bitcoin, you don't really have money. You've got brownie points, behavior points, where you're rewarded for nice behavior. That's not what money is. Money is what you own. You can do with it whatever you want. And if you can't do with it whatever you want, it's not really money. This is a massive risk that most people are not really factoring in. They think that we're just living in this world where property rights are protected and whatever we want, we can have. I don't think it's true. I think unless you own Bitcoin, you don't really own money.
Do you think that's a signal? Like we said, it's time to really pay attention. Remember when President Trump recently threatened BRICS and Putin with crippling tariffs if they were to support an alternative to the US dollar? Well, one thing is certain, if we do enter a multipolar world, the USA and BRICS will compete very aggressively, and the best tool to reduce the odds of disaster, that's Bitcoin. But it looks like time is running out. The US must be the first mover and beat BRICS to secure a strategic Bitcoin reserve. They have to act now. Will the US act now? Remember last week, Jerome Powell said Bitcoin is like gold.
People use Bitcoin as a speculative asset. It's like gold.
Well, the U.S. Treasury put out a report detailing why Bitcoin is digital gold. And we have this report from Bernstein just in: Bitcoin will replace gold as the leading store of value within 10 years. Now, I'm going to show you why that's very bearish. And someone better check in on Peter Schiff, because the corn is catching on, and massively. Roll it.
What's your price target for Bitcoin?
So I think in the short term, we're going to see one of two cases. The first case is we're going to have some sideways action between 110 and downwards to 80. Second scenario, and that will come either in the short term or in the medium term, is once we have the Bitcoin Act, which is currently under consideration, passed, where the U.S. government will be buying Bitcoin into its reserves, as well as other countries and other corporates for their treasury assets as well, we could see a $500K Bitcoin or $1 million Bitcoin. The sky is really the limit here.
How much of a portfolio do you think should be allocated to cryptocurrency at this point? And has that changed now that we have a very pro-crypto president coming into office?
Absolutely. I think if you don't have at least 10% of your investment account in Bitcoin or Bitcoin-related assets, you're going to fall significantly behind.
Guys, even the TV is saying anything below a 10% allocation is short Bitcoin. So nation states are massively short Bitcoin, but that may not last for long. And we have some news that is going to blow your mind. Is the U.S. about to rug pull the global financial order? Buckle up, because the big finish is coming. But before we bring it home, look at our likes.
But you can't do this to me. You know how much I sacrificed?
Enjoying the show so far? Don't forget to like, subscribe, set those notifications for the best in Bitcoin delivered to you daily. Give us a pamp while we take a moment to recognize our sponsors, the masters of Bitcoin self-sovereignty, the Bitcoin way. You're looking to learn how to Bitcoin, how to properly secure your Bitcoin? You might want to head on over to the newly revamped Bitcoin Way website, where you can begin your road to Bitcoin sovereignty today. If you're looking to schedule a free 30-minute consultation, go ahead and use that link below in the show notes. Big finish time, and possibly the most bullish big finish in this show's history. And I know you saw the news. MicroStrategy is not stopping, and it appears more are coming. Shareholders are now demanding Microsoft to buy Bitcoin, and that vote, I believe, is taking place tomorrow. And while they have billions at their disposal, this is just the tip of the iceberg. Absolutely none of this is priced in. Speculative attacks have begun. Shoutouts to Pierre Richard. Now, I want you to take a look at this clip from President Trump in 2016, and you tell me if there's some signal here. Roll it.
Can you envision a scenario that this country ever goes back to the gold standard?
You know, there's something very nice about having something solid. You know, we used to have a very, very solid country because it was based on a gold standard. We don't have that anymore. There is something very nice about the concept of that. It would be very, very hard to do at this point, and one of the problems is we don't have the gold. Other places have the gold.
Guys, 36 trillion in US debt, only 700 billion in gold reserves. The gold isn't there. What happened? I smell the most bullish outcome on the horizon. And again, someone check on Peter Schiff, because he's got to be losing his mind right now. Absolutely no one is ready for what is coming. Mentally prepare yourself, because this clip will rattle your sphincter. Roll it.
I don't know what the purpose of a Bitcoin central reserve is, and I haven't seen the details of why that's important.
Bitcoin is emerging as the world's reserve capital network. People are realizing that Bitcoin is better than real estate. It's better than stocks. There's not a single company or real estate property that you would rather own for the long term than Bitcoin. So the very simple idea is buy 20 or 25% of the Bitcoin network on behalf of the US government, catalyze the development of that world reserve capital network, and then let all the Chinese and the Russians and the foreigners sell all their other assets and buy Bitcoin, and then the money flows into the United States. If you want to put a great twist on it, dump your gold, sell all the US gold, buy Bitcoin, then the trade is free because you could buy 5 million Bitcoin for the cost of the gold. You will demonetize the entire gold asset class, and our enemies hold gold in their banks, so their assets would go to zero. Our assets would go to $100 trillion, and we would control the world's reserve capital network as well as the world's reserve currency network.
The Bitcoin Senator Cynthia Lummis is also suggesting funding a U.S. strategic Bitcoin reserve by marking the Fed's gold certificates to market value and selling them. And these certificates, issued at statutory gold price of $42 an ounce in 1973, could now be valued at over $2,600 an ounce. So when Michael Saylor said this the other day,
I'm sure that I will be buying Bitcoin at $1 million a coin, probably $1 billion a day of Bitcoin at $1 million a coin.
He was actually possibly saying he's going to be buying $1 million Bitcoin, and pretty soon. You know, $2.2 million Bitcoin might be bearish, Max. Roll it!
I mean, Bitcoin's going to go to 10x gold easy. Just keep in mind, right, a public company, it's got to hold a commodity on its balance sheet because it can't hold securities. So you've either got a choice of a digital commodity called Bitcoin, which is 60% ARR. Gold is 7%. Real estate is 10%. Bonds are 4%. And everything less than 15% doesn't beat the cost of capital. So the S&P sets the hurdle. So gold fails as a treasury asset for everybody in the world. Bitcoin succeeds. I think you could, if you call Bitcoin digital gold, it's 10x gold. But I still think it undersells Bitcoin, right? Because Bitcoin is digital capital. It's not just replacing gold. It's going to replace real estate, the S&P index, and any capital asset held by an institution or a wealthy family. So right now, wealthy families and investors don't use bonds or gold as a capital asset. They would use the S&P index or stocks as a capital asset. But banks and regulated corporations, operating companies, aren't allowed to use securities as a capital asset. They're knocked down. They don't want to use gold. It's not liquid enough. And so they use real estate, and you got a REIT or a real estate development company, but the real estate is, you know, less than the S&P index and not volatile. If you give up the ARR and the volatility of the S&P, you're trading down. So that's not really a winner. And then you're stuck with bonds, and bonds are dead money, a liability. I've said before, Bitcoin, it should reasonably become a multi-$100 trillion asset class, right? My forecast is 13 million a coin by 2045, base case, upside and downside. I just expect another way to say it is it's 60% ARR at 60 vol. It's going to track toward 20% ARR and 20 vol when S&P is 15 over 20 years. It'll just step down as it approaches that target.
Okay. Hey, whether or not we get a U.S. strategic Bitcoin reserve, the game theory is in action. The dominoes are falling. There are other countries around the world, as we've been covering lately, Brazil, Poland, Russia, Pennsylvania, who are all considering it. More states are coming. Shout outs to Dennis Porter. They're all going to start to buy. And it's going to get really hard to keep the price down. The race is on, my friends. And if this is not the makings of a super cycle, I don't know what the is. What do you guys think? Will the Middle East front run the U.S., or will the U.S. be the one to rug pull central banks around the globe? Either way you slice it, no one is bullish enough. Hey, I hope you guys enjoyed this one. Don't forget to like, subscribe, give us a pamp, and spread that sound money gospel. Oh, and if you want to keep this bullish party going, click here. And I'll catch you all Wednesday. New episode of Bitcoin Simply with Dante coming in hot tomorrow, so stay tuned. Love you guys. Catch you next time. Peace.
If you prefer to go down with the ship, you.